You want Pez?
No.
Cassie gave me this for my birthday. By the way, I love that suit.
Thanks, man.
I wish I had a suit. I would even like a suit with like minimal powers, you know? Or maybe even just a suit with no powers.
I still think about the night your mother and I had to leave you.
Pimration over an uncaring void of darkness.
Stop making up words.
Look, Hollywood, no matter how realistic the de-aging technology gets, it will always feel uncanny, because our brains know it's fake, and we know what they look like now, and I just wish you'd stop.
Except the vast majority of people either couldn't care less and can't tell or actually appreciate this technology and think it's getting better every time. Which it is. Have you seen this bad motherfucker?
We both knew that if you go that small, there's no coming back.
Narration that was proven false by the previous movie. And this movie. In a few seconds, he's even going to counter this very statement. So why not just have him say, we both thought?
If you were paying attention, this is the narration from the first film, and that was before Hank knew it was possible to return from the quantum realm. Besides, the phrasing that he's choosing to use means that in that moment, they knew they couldn't return.
It should have been me, but my regulator was damaged.
And that would mean these movies would have had Michelle Pfeiffer as one of the leads. And God forbid a woman be the successful inventor of scores of useful Marvel tech. I imagine Marvel being like Buddy Ackerman's office and swimming with sharks. Avoid women, they ovulate. Do you know what that does to a 3-month shoot? You've got to think big. Think Pym. Think Banner. Think Stark.
Oh, brother. You know why this isn't the case? Because unlike the DCEU, the MCU closely follows the actual comics they're based on. In the Ant-Man comics, Hank Pym is the one responsible for this technology. What you're asking for is a complete rewrite of the character simply to fit some arbitrary political ideal. Women kick ass in the MCU already. They don't need you to white knight for them. You're not getting any pussy.
I think it's possible to bring her back.
And I started to think it's possible to make pigs fly, but I've still got several legal and moral hurdles to skip.
You're really great with kids. Thanks, I'm also a youth pastor.
Pop quiz, assholes. Thanks, I'm also a youth pastor is A, what I say whenever I get complimented on my hygiene. B, a spicy Albanian religious cola drink. C, a saying I had tattooed on my penis. And D, the only sworn testimony I have ever given in a court of law.
1 sin for sinning the hilarious Randall Park, and 10 sins for saying boner tattoo. Ugh.
It was their tech, so they violated the Accords, too.
How does creating tech like Ant-Man's suit before the Accords were a thing violate the Accords? I thought the Accords were just a set of rules stating that superheroes had to twiddle their thumbs until the government needed them to fight crime under their supervision. If it was discovered that Scott stole the tech, how does that make Hank and Hope liable?
I'm not saying that I agree with the government regarding the guilt of Hank and Hope, but these two films have been trying to establish that Hank Pym is a little selfish and that because he refuses to allow others access to his technology, he could be in violation of the Accords, as it's clear that he'd never signed them. Also, Thunderbolt Ross could have assumed Hank and Hope were helping Scott in Germany, especially after Scott dropped this line.
Hank Pym always said you never can trust a Stark. Who are you? Come on, man.
How'd you do it, Scott?
He means the magic trick, but this is the pronoun game dressing up as something else.
Because you didn't show the magic trick, using the words magic trick and this is actually you playing the pronoun game.
You didn't see that coming.
This guy has 3 more days of house arrest to kill before freedom, and he goes, drum practice, plastic bowling even 6-year-olds would turn up their noses at, goddamn magic lessons online, private karaoke, John Green novels, origami, and hot f***ing goddamn is the dude ever gonna turn on the TV or watch some porn? Nothing passes time better than TV and porn.
Depending on your ability to quickly find a good scene, 5, 10 minutes tops.
You always find me, Mommy.
This is apparently a real-life memory of some sort, because blah blah Scott blah blah quantum realm blah blah married to the mob is stuck in the quantum realm. And that's pretty much how this movie explains it.
I could play the scene where they attempt to explain how this all works, but by now you all know Jeremy is a bullshit artist, so I don't think that I need to. I mean, you all trust me, right?
I have a feeling that if you were driving a car this small for a trip this long, getting smashed would be an inevitability.
Yeah, but for people like Hank and Hope, whose lives revolve around shrinking and very small things, I'd assume they'd know what they were doing and have the ability to avoid such issues. I mean, look at you and your... You know what? Never mind.
It was a matter of national security. The Cap needed help.
Cap?
Hope interrupts this bullshit reason Scott is giving to join Cap's side in Civil War, basically because it's a joke about how he casually refers to Captain America as Cap, and so you won't realize what a ridiculous decision it was. The whole first Ant-Man was about him doing things to see his daughter, because he cared about his daughter more than anyone in the world. To join the fight with a bunch of rogue Avengers and potentially be put in prison for life is something not only Scott wouldn't do, but Cap would never ask him to do under those circumstances.
Couple things here. Cap didn't know Scott's situation in the first place. Remember, he was recruited by Falcon after Scott
Fought an Avenger and didn't die.
Also, as I mentioned in my Civil War video, if Captain America asks you to Civil War, you Civil War, goddammit.
What? I barely tolerate your embiggening and smallening technology at all, but simply can't abide the idea that you built it into a car model.
So apparently you didn't pay attention to the last film where they shrank and grew a tank, because this is what's blowing your mind.
Also, is there a reason you drove here small only to park large? Was it just to demonstrate the tech? I think it was just to demonstrate the tech.
Or, and follow me here because I'm going to be explaining rocket science, they don't have the suits on them so they can't grow back to normal size when not in the car.
Also, these CG ants are fake as shit. Doesn't Marvel Disney have enough money now to actually enlarge real ants and train them at this point?
It's a tunnel to the quantum realm.
Wait, what? You don't need a tunnel. Just wear the suit and go 2 levels deep. Boom. Bob's your uncle. You're in the quantum realm. Try the veal.
The problem is that the suits don't have reliable regulators yet, so while shrinking would be fine, returning would be a matter of luck. This is why they built the tunnel and the ship, as it allows them to pinpoint Janet's location and then also return safely.
This huge Duracell product placement only accentuates what a waste of science this is. You could solve nearly all the world's problems with this shrinking and enlarging technology, but it will never be used in that way.
Hence one of the character flaws of Hank Pym. Again, this isn't a CinemaSin, it's purposeful characterization.
Your mom put a message in my head? Come on. That's insane.
Guy who has literally shrunk down and led an army of ants into battle says that's insane, like he's some kind of authority on crazy scene descriptions.
The amount of irony in this sin
is too damn high.
Once we get the component and power up the tunnel, we'll get the message and have you home by lunch. We have to hurry. The entanglement won't last.
You owe us.
Never, ever, ever have 6 seconds of consecutive dialogue been this confusing.
Well, if you weren't spending every 5 seconds talking about boners, making up words, and trying but failing to be funny, you would have understood what it is they're talking about. I mean, you included Hank Pym stating that Scott owed them in this sin, implying that was also confusing. Jesus.
Also, how's the solution to Infinity War not these fools just making Thanos a tiny gummy bear and eating his ass so he drowns in stomach acid?
Because as the movies have been trying to tell you, shrinking someone doesn't make them weaker, it actually increases their density, meaning a shrunken Thanos would be even more durable than he already is, while retaining his strength and making it more difficult to find him. Thanks for the suggestion, Patrick.
You're welcome.
Walton Goggins plays a bad guy in a movie cliche.
Sinning Walton Goggins.
Quantum energy is the future.
Okay, this is like when the human guy in Avatar demanded more unobtainium. It's literally just like that.
No, it's not. You see, one is fictional and the other is a real thing. What this is you laughing at those nerds doing the smarts.
You know what's cooler than $1 million?
$1 billion.
You know what's cooler than $1 billion?
1 billion, gajillion, fifillion, million yen.
Hold up, what is that on the plate in front of her? Bars of Dove soap cut open and filled with goop? Giant deviled eggs? The 3 seashells from Demolition Man?
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference.
Alright, I am out. This kind of tech makes pretty much the entire MCU worthless. This is raw magic, more powerful than even Harry Potter ever saw.
It's actually science, buddy. I mean, how is this more fantastic than Iron Man's suit, Dr. Banner and Mr. Hulk, or anything that happens on Asgard?
These assholes who work with Luis, and even Luis himself, argue about oatmeal for 20 seconds. And somehow people were still wondering why this movie didn't fully connect with viewers.
Not that I give a shit about Rotten Tomatoes, especially the audience scores, but this does seem to indicate that audiences love this movie. So what the f*** are you talking about?
The Postal Service is very reliable. You know, they do tracking numbers now.
This movie is just one conversation like this after another, and it's not cute.
You're aware that this film is a comedy, right? I mean, that was literally the point in casting Paul Rudd.
Another casualty of Hank Pym's ego.
Dun dun dun! In addition to being super helpful about how they could locate the lab, Morpheus is also the surrogate father for this ghost chick. The odds are astronomical. Holy.
Are you kidding? Goliath led them here purposefully. They'd been planning this from the beginning. Pay attention.
Elias, Starr. They were colleagues at S.H.I.E.L.D. Quantum research.
This exposition is clunky, but at least no one's quipping about oatmeal or the post office.
Sending something you like cliche? Sending something you like cliche.
And trained me to be a stealth operative.
We find out later that she only gets away from S.H.I.E.L.D. once S.H.I.E.L.D. falls apart, so she must have been so stealth that we didn't even see her in the big Avengers missions, where she could have been a huge asset. She's in there somewhere, damn it! I just know she is!
Imagine how the Avengers would react to learning who Ghost was and what S.H.I.E.L.D. used her for. I mean, you saw their reaction to them learning what S.H.I.E.L.D. planned to use the Tesseract for, right? It almost broke the team up before it started.
Then she told me about Lang and the message from Janet inside his head. That's when I knew.
Bill is giving very important information here as the story builds a little momentum, and the movie interrupts it for a joke.
Comedy film. Paul Rudd.
Oh, is that truth serum?
There's no such thing as truth serum. That's just nonsense from TV.
Usman and the ex-con security team will argue about whether they should call this truth serum for some time. And the reason why Usman won't just let it go is because... why exactly?
He's basically talking to the audience, explaining that sodium pentothal isn't actually truth serum, which is true. Or you can look at it as a long-form joke. Because comedy movie. Paul Rudd.
I tolerate a lot of the things you do out there, but I won't be a part of anything like that.
Wait, what exactly has she been doing besides following Hank and Hope for the last 2 years? Has she been committing other major crimes other than stalking? Sure, she was an operative of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a hot minute, but that wasn't her decision.
Due to her deteriorating condition, Ava had been employing increasingly ruthless tactics in her search for a cure, up to and including killing people. Do you see why simply asking questions about a film doesn't count as a sin?
If that freak gets Pam's tech, I'm never gonna see it.
How many bad guys are in this movie?
Not including the henchmen. 2.
Systems in the green.
Priming the coils.
Atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed.
I only know this reference because I'm a big-ass nerd, but without me telling you, how many people knew this was from the 1960s Batman TV show? Now do you see why I send him for pop culture references? And this one is 53 years old.
It's shutting down. Maybe our vectors are off.
Yep, I agree. Gotta be the vectors. Like 60% of the time, it's the vectors every time.
Hey, what do you know? It's another pop culture reference. Only this time it's from Paul Rudd and it's actually clever.
60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
I had him follow us. I thought we could use some help.
That's why I didn't tell you until now, right before we go into the lab.
Considering Hank has objected to those guys helping every single time.
I just wanted to save Ava. She's facing death or something far more terrible.
What?
Oh, you didn't hear him? He said,
she's facing death or something far more terrible.
I still don't understand how the ants gained super intelligence just because they got big.
Along with bees, to whom they are closely related, ants are considered the most intelligent species of insect. Not to mention Hank is controlling them. No one is saying that just because they got big, they became smarter, because that doesn't happen. I mean, look at you and your channel.
So she's a super genius, a badass at hand-to-hand combat, a professional stunt driver. She's basically all the things. She's Trinity in the Matrix movies, downloading new skills on the fly as needed.
In the 4th sin of this video, weren't you complaining that a woman wasn't being shown on the same level as a man? Now you get that with Hope, and you're complaining about that too. I found something worse than an SJW. A fake SJW. Soy?
Look, I don't hate fun. I like fun, and this is fun.
And let me stop you right there, because you're going to send something you like. Cliche.
He hasn't driven in 2 years, and it was a problem, but he's able to just knee skateboard this bitch like he's been knee skateboarding trucks his whole life.
What the hell does driving ability have to do with knee skateboarding? Like, how are those two things even remotely related?
How did he even have time to buy a ticket?
Impossible action is justified through a throwaway joke, I guess.
Comedy film. Paul Rudd.
I'm no extra dimension expert, but I feel like the quantum void should have the same helmet removal as bad rules as outer space.
Reason number 745,612 why the books fucking matter. The quantum realm is the MCU's version of the microverse, and this is expressly shown in Ant-Man's comics. The laws of physics don't apply there. They technically be smaller than oxygen atoms and photons, but they can still breathe and see.
I'm not the same woman I was 30 years ago, Henry.
Yes, you are. Just because you say it doesn't make it so. Aside from some ET powers that we'll see later, you're the same person.
This still counts as Jeremy answers himself in the same sin cliche.
I guess this is where we say adios, amigo.
That's super racist.
Is he though?
Your pain, I can feel it.
And that was how Mantis was born.
And this is how future Birdman was born.
Super sick.
I'll see about that.
He barfed. Like a lot.
Young lady, I'm a federal agent. I've seen worse things than vomit. Like a lot?